What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Life with Tracy. I am your boy Tracy, and as you can see by the title, we are going to have a story time today. This is actually my very first story time, so I hope I don't disappoint. This is going to be a couple of short stories of how I encountered a few paranormal activities, I guess, as you will. Some people are very sensitive to their third eye. Some people are aware of how to, um, you know, understand it or don't get that eerie feeling to where they know exactly how to use their gifts. Others are sensitive, but they're not really sure exactly how to tap into it. So this is going to be a couple stories of how I maneuvered as a young adult or a kid, I guess you will, with dealing with, I guess, having my third eye open to the paranormal activities. But before I get started, make sure you go ahead and get your snacks, get your drinks, get whatever you need, and come on back. Don't forget to get me something, give me a little bag of chips, something to drink. What are you waiting on? Go ahead, hurry up. Come on, I have a long story to tell you. All right, you're back. All right, well, actually, before we get started, go ahead and make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss a notification of whenever I upload a new video. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get started. The very first story I can remember is, I think I was probably about 7 or 8, and one of my cousins decided to gift my mom with a Ouija board. So one night they decided that they were going to play the game, ask the Ouija a couple questions, go through and, made a couple jokes of, oh no, you're the one who's moving it, that whole rigmarole, and just went through just trying to figure out exactly, is this real, is it not real? As they continued to play, a couple of eerie things started happening. There was like a couple of drawers that were opening. It sounded like the doors were closing, but we really didn't, think too much of it until the door slammed. So we're like, what the heck is that noise? So we started going around investigating, trying to figure out, is somebody else in the house with us besides us? Because it was like probably about me, my mom, my cousin, and I think one of my other cousins in the house, and we're like, okay, this can't be. There can't be anybody else in here. It's just us. So we started investigating and walking around the house and trying to look and see if anybody's in there. Going room to room, and then we discovered that one of the bedrooms windows were actually open. So that's what actually slammed the door. So we didn't really think anything else of it. We're like, oh, okay. So we stopped. We put the game away or whatever. The very next day, later on, actually, was it the next day? No, it was the next day. Actually, it was in the evening. Got in the tub, got ready for bed. We're laying down. I think she went downstairs to grab something to drink, and like water or some type of juice or something. And as she was standing down there, pouring her drink, all of a sudden she felt, like someone standing behind her. So she went to go look, and when she looked, there was nobody there. But then she walked past and she could just feel like this cold feeling come over her, and she's like, I don't understand, why I got this scared feeling. So she runs upstairs. She's telling my dad or whatever, and all of a sudden she decides that she's going to get rid of this game. She's like, I'm not playing with this. There's no way. I'm not dealing with any evil spirits or what have you. So the next day she ended up putting the Ouija board outside in the trash. Once, I think that following night or maybe 2 nights later, all of a sudden she goes in the basement to go wash clothes, and we notice that the daggone Ouija board is on top of a bag of clothes over in the corner. So needless to say, she ended up giving it back to my cousin because it was like, we're not dealing with this type of chaos in our house. So The next day we ended up going to, there was a pharmacy that we used to go to in Homewood. And if anybody knows it, it's like right there on Frankstown. This is probably, what, back in the 90s, like 89, 90, something like around there. No, actually, it was before that. But anyway, it was a pharmacy that sat like right there on Frankstown Avenue in Homewood that we used to go to. And so she went in and she got one of those candles that has the Serenity Prayer on it. And then there was another prayer. You remember those candles? They used to have like the different prayers on it, and you just light it, you say the prayer, and then, you know, peace is supposed to come upon you. So we did that. So we took that home. We ended up lighting the candle. We said the prayer. You know, we're looking at each other. We're praying. All of a sudden, now we used to have like, so like the way you walk into our house is you would walk in the house, 2 couches on both sides with the table, so you have to walk around those to get to the steps. You walk up the steps, there was like a landing, and then you walk up a couple more steps, and then you'll be like where the bedrooms are. Well, on that landing, there was a plant that we used to have, and that plant sat there for I don't know how many years. Never moved, never nothing, you know, solid. But this one day while we're doing the candle or what have you, I don't know, we just felt like this, we felt the peace, but we felt like a cold air like brush through us. But I don't know how to really explain it. It was like almost like air going through you and then coming out the other side. But it was like, I don't know, it just felt like, okay, you ever watch a movie and you see like they have like a hand or something and it goes through the person? Well, that's kind of how it felt, but it felt a little bit bigger. So it like brushed through, and as it brushed through, it was like almost like the spirit was leaving the our house. And as soon as it went past us, the plant fell over and fell on the steps. So we looked at each other, and then we ended up looking at the candle, and we blew the candle out because we, you know, that fear came over us. So we talked about it, like, did you feel that? Did you feel that? And I'm like, yeah. And I don't think we talked about that after that. Yeah, that was kind of scary, because it was like, okay, well, we just dealt with that the night before. Never felt that before. That was the first time I ever felt that dynamic occur on me. So the next story, actually, I was probably about 11 or 12. I think my mom and my other aunt was on their way to Atlantic City, and so she was dropping me off at my aunt's house in Wilkesburg. And once I got there, it was me, my cousin, my aunt, her boyfriend, his daughter, and then his other 2 daughters, I think, were with their mom during that time. And so, you know, they were on their way on the trip. So, you know, we said our goodbyes, we joked a little bit, said our goodbyes, they left, and then, you know, we played around a little bit in the house. And then while my aunt and our boyfriend was cooking, so they were preparing dinner. Once they got completed with dinner, you know, we sat down, ate, talked about, you know, what we plan on doing for the next couple of days. Then during this time, it was basically time for bed, so they started washing the dishes and putting everything away. They sent us upstairs to get ready for bed. But once we got upstairs, we were actually still joking around and, you know, having a good old time. So my aunt's boyfriend came upstairs. When he came upstairs, he was like, you know, it's time for bed. So the way that the house was, when you came up the steps, my aunt and her boyfriend's room were at the top of the steps. The bathroom was here. My cousin's room was here, and then the room I was staying in was candy corner to it. And the walls were pretty thin, so you could still hear like us laughing or what have you. So they ended up cracking the door so that we can go to sleep. But I ended up laying down, and I went to go get up. But when I got up to use the restroom, somebody was already in there. So I went and laid down across the bed. Now the room that I stayed in when you came in, there was like a day bed right up against this wall, and this same wall was the one that was next to my cousin's room. And then so they had the day bed. There was a dresser in front of it, like by the window. So it was the dresser, the window, and then at the end of the bed there was a chalkboard. So I'm laying across the bed, and I'm laying facing the window at first, but my back is up against the wall, and I'm laying there and I'm just dozing off. I'm waiting on whoever's in the bathroom to come out. So I feel somebody tapping me, and I'm thinking it's, whoever was in the bathroom telling me that it was okay to go ahead. You can use the bathroom now. So they're tapping me, and I'm like slowly opening my eyes to see in front of me there's like a little boy, but he's in the shape, well, it's a puff of smoke in the shape of the little boy. And he's just standing there, and I'm thinking I'm still dreaming, so I'm like looking, and I'm all groggy, and I'm like wiping my eyes, and he's like coming closer to me. So as he's coming closer to me, I went to go move my hand to like kind of stop him, and my hand went through his face. As soon as my hand went through his face, now that jolted me to wake up. So I jump up, and I'm like sitting on the side of the bed like this, and he's still coming towards me. So I hop over the bed, and I jump out, open the door, run out the room, go into the bathroom. As I'm in the bathroom, I'm like throwing water on my face, smacking my face, like, dude, wake up. So as I'm doing that, I use the bathroom, wash my hands, come back, I'm looking around, looking under the bed, looking behind the door, like, what the heck was that? Like, was I really asleep, or was this really happening? So I'm like, Lord, whatever it is, please just let it leave me alone. I just want to go to sleep and get through this day. So I lay back on the bed, but this time I'm facing the wall with my back towards the window. As I'm laying across the bed, I just start slowly drifting back to sleep. I'm like, thank you, Lord, let me go to sleep. So as I'm dozing off, I'm looking at the wall, I'm just drifting, slowly closing my eyes. All of a sudden, I feel something tapping me on my shoulder. I'm like, Lord, please, whatever this is, just let it leave me alone. So I slowly turn, and I'm looking. As I'm turning my head to look over my shoulder, there's a puff of smoke in the shape of a window on this side of the dresser, and then the real window. So I jump up, I'm knocking on my aunt's door. I'm like, Aunt Judy, open the door, please. So I'm telling her there's a ghost in this house. She's like, boy, we've been in this house, I don't know how many times, how many years or whatever. We ain't never seen no ghost in this house. I'm like, but I'm telling you, there's a little boy in this room, and he's trying to tell me something, but, I'm too scared to even ask him. Like I said, I was probably about 11 or 12, so I'm like, I'm not even thinking straight. So she's like, no, boy, there's no ghost in this house. We lived here, I don't know how many years. There's nothing. Go to bed. So I go back in the room. I'm like, I'm not sleeping in that room. So I go into my cousin's room. So it's her and my aunt's boyfriend's daughter. So they're in the bed, and the bed had to be like probably a king size bed, because they were like all the way on the other side of the bed, and they would have to probably roll 3 times before they got to me. So I'm laying on the edge of the bed. As I'm laying on the edge of the bed, I'm curled up into like a ball, and I'm just laying there. I'm like, Lord, please just allow me to go to sleep. Do not let whatever this entity or whatever it is bother me. Like, I really want to go to sleep. So I'm laying there, I'm like, in a ball, got my legs crossed. I'm just trying to go to sleep. All of a sudden, I just feel something like push my foot off the bed. I'm like, Lord, please let it leave me alone. And I look back over, and they're still on the other side. So I know it wasn't them that pushed my leg. So the very next day, I wake up, we eat breakfast. I'm trying to explain everything, step by step of what happened during that night. And they're cracking up. They're cracking jokes, just laughing it off. Just like, dude, we've been here, I don't know how many years. We ain't never seen no ghost. I'm like, well, maybe he just thinks because he's a boy, I'm a boy, he can probably come and talk to me and tell me exactly what's going on, and I would probably believe him versus one of the girls. Because there's 3 girls in the house, and I know they're probably not going to come to you because you're probably going to be scared or what have you. So they don't believe me. So I tell my mom. She's like, my mom's believing me because Mom Dukes gotta believe the kid. So she's like, all right, we're just gonna let it go. You know, maybe it was just nothing. Maybe, you know, something happened. My uncle's like, my other uncle, my mom's brother, he's like, oh yeah, you know, you should have talked to him. You should have told him to, you know, write something on the chalkboard and tell you exactly what happened. Maybe something happened to him when he was younger. So years had passed. I think my aunt's boyfriend, he ended up going down to the courthouse for something. I think he went down there to go check on taxes or something. And while he was down there doing the taxes, he was like, you know, let me go check on the house. Let me go look up information on the house. So he goes and he finds out that actuality, the little boy did die in the house. The window that appeared, the little boy ended up actually falling out of the window when he was younger. So that's basically what he was trying to tell me, is that when he was younger, somehow he fell out the window and he died in that house. Another story that I had was when I was in high school. I actually ended up going to through the Pittsburgh Partnership Program, where we went to different schools just to get a feel for how college life was. We went to Shippensburg, Slippery Rock, I think Clarion. There was a few other schools that we ended up attending during the summer, but we actually only stayed in two of them, which was Slippery Rock and Shippensburg. But the other ones we just visited during the summertime. So this one time we were at, I think it was the last night in Shippensburg. Yeah, it was our last night in Shippensburg, and we decided that, well, I didn't decide because I was like, I already know what's up. But somebody else decided that they wanted to pull out a Ouija board. I'm like, I'm not playing this game. And then I started telling them about the time, you know, that I had with the Ouija. I was like, I'm not playing this game, so whatever y'all want to do, y'all can do. I'll just sit in the room and I'll watch, but I'm not playing it. So a couple of us went into this one of their rooms. They started playing it. I was on the other side of the bed. They were on the other side of the room playing. As they're going around, it's like, you know, asking different questions. Okay, well, do you want this to happen? You know, who are you? What, you know, all those type of questions. So then, as they're going around, one of the things came up as the little, I guess it would be what, a diamond or the little key or whatever it is. That they end up, you know, going around, and it was like, you die. It was like, you die. Who do you want to die? So then they start going around naming names. Oh, do you want this person? No. Do you want this person? No. Do you want that person? No. So then they get to the last person, and it was like, yes. He was like, is it because of what I was just thinking? He was like, yes. So now we're all just looking at each other, dumbfounded, like, what the heck is going on? Like, well, who's actually playing? Are y'all playing around or whatever? So then we decide, okay, they're gonna ask it another question. So then they were like, so they took out a deck of cards. I wish I had one with me. I usually have. Anyway, so they took out a deck of cards, and they took one card out. And y'all remember those real hard wooden chairs that was like flat? It was like the seat was flat. Well, they decided to take one of the, I wish I had a card. So they decided to take one of the cards, sit it on the chair, but they sat it like on the edge of it. It was completely flat. The windows was closed. No fan was on. The door was closed. So they went around and was like, if anything is in here, or if there's anyone else in here besides us, make this card fall off the chair. No more than 2 or 3 seconds later, the daggone card starts tithering back and forth, until it flipped over and fell on the ground. If you could have seen how quickly we all ran to that door, like we almost trampled each other trying to get out that room. All of our counselors started coming down the hall, running down the hall, like, what's going on? What's going on? Y'all supposed to be asleep. Y'all supposed to be asleep. You know, it's our last day. We gotta get up early and all this other stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm not staying in that room, and I'm not staying near that room. I'm going down this hall, and I'm gonna stay in somebody else's room. Even if I have to sleep on the floor, it doesn't matter what you say. I'm not sleeping near that room. So very next day, we're all talking about it, like, oh my God, I can't believe what happened. Do y'all, do y'all really feel anything while you were in there? I'm like, no. I'm like, but, and then I started telling them again, like, my experiences from what I've seen when I was younger. And they're like, dude, I don't know. I'm like, well, y'all better make sure that y'all close that, whatever that doorway was. Make sure y'all erase whatever it was that y'all had written on there, because clearly that thing's about to start following y'all around. But actually, there was one last one. The house that I'm in right now, there's been a couple of encounters that I've dealt with since I've been in this house. When I first bought it, it always felt like it. I just felt like an eerie, not really an eerie feeling. I just felt like somebody was walking downstairs. Like I would always hear somebody like walking in the hallway, like in my foyer, walking back and forth. But then it always felt like somebody was standing at the bottom of the stairwell. I don't know why. It just always felt, even if I'm up here, I could just hear somebody walking, and it just feels like somebody's at the bottom of the steps. But this one time I was in the shower, my kids were in their room, and I'm standing in the shower, I'm washing up or what have you. I got shampoo in my hair. It feels like somebody's tapping me on my back, and I jump, and I look, and nobody's there, so I'm washing up, getting out, and I check the door's locked, nobody's there, so I'm like, well, the kids is in the room, so I didn't think anything else of it. Then this one time the kids weren't here, and I would go into my room, because my daughter's room is like right across, and as I'm in my room, I'm lying there, and all of a sudden, like around 12 o'clock, midnight, my daughter has like this little toy guitar, and the thing just started going like somebody was playing it. I'm like, what the heck? So I go in her room, I'm checking the guitar. The batteries are actually dead. So I don't, like, there was only one battery in there. Because I remember I had taken the batteries out because she needed new batteries. She had told me that the battery had died. So I ended up taking the other battery out, trying to think, is something really in here? So then another time, my daughter said that she had woke up in the middle of the night, kind of scared. And I'm like, well, what's wrong? She wouldn't tell me. I kept on asking her. She said that one night she had woke up and she felt like there was like a man, like she saw a man sitting at the bottom of her bed. I'm like, wait, what? So I'm trying to think. Her granddad, he had passed a couple years ago, and he liked to play the guitar. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's, her granddad. So a couple times she just stopped sleeping in the room, because she kept on saying, she kept on waking up, and she kept feeling like somebody was at the end of the bed. Well, probably a couple years later, I think, or not even a couple years, I think maybe the next year or something, I think her mom ended up going out of town, and then she ended up getting like her palm read. And when she got her palm read, I guess the psychic told her that her dad was watching over my daughter. So I talked to my daughter and explained to her, it's probably your granddad. He's probably trying to protect you. After probably a couple months, she stopped seeing, somebody at the bottom of the bed. So I'm thinking maybe he just sensed that she was too afraid, and he didn't want to, he knew she was safe, so he didn't want to keep on bothering her. All right, guys. Well, that's my time. I hope you enjoyed this story time. If by any chance any of you have ever encountered some type of paranormal activities, any eerie feelings where you felt like somebody was watching you that wasn't there, or anything of the sort, please leave a comment below and tell us your stories. I'd love to hear from you, and just go from there. But make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you don't miss a moment whenever I upload a new video. Till next time, peace.